The Prague. Most tourists never see more than 8 million people visit Prague every year. They come for the castle, the famous clock, the fairy tale skyline rising above the Vltava River. They cross the same bridge, follow the same streets, take the same photographs, and leave believing they have seen one of Europe's most beautiful cities. And they have. But they have only seen part of it. Because the Prague most tourists experience is a city of landmarks, a city of postcards, a city condensed into a few crowded squares and a handful of famous attractions. Yet beyond the crowds exists another Prague, a quieter Prague, a slower Prague, a city hidden not behind walls or locked doors but behind distraction, a city of forgotten courtyards, riverside paths, overlooked neighbourhoods, hidden viewpoints, and stories waiting just beyond the places everyone already know. The truth is, Prague does not reveal itself all at once. It rewards those who wander, those who look closer, those willing to leave the obvious behind. And if you do, you may discover a side of Prague that feels entirely different from the one millions of visitors come to see. To understand Prague, you have to begin before it wakes up, long before the cafes fill, before the souvenir shops open, before the crowds gather beneath the astronomical clock. At dawn, Prague feels like a different city. The streets are quiet. The air carries the sound of distant church bells and the occasional tram rolling through the early morning darkness. The city's famous landmarks suddenly feel older, more mysterious, less like attractions and more like pieces of a living history. As the first light reaches Charles Bridge, the crowds are nowhere to be seen. The statues standing along the bridge emerge slowly from the shadows. The river below reflects the colours of the sunrise. For a brief moment, one of Europe's busiest landmarks belongs only to the city itself, and standing there, it becomes easier to understand why Prague has inspired travellers for centuries. Not because of what it looks like at midday, but because of what it feels like when no one else is around. Most visitors never experience this version of Prague. They arrive after the city has already become a spectacle. They see the crowds, the noise, the movement. But before all of that begins, Prague reveals something far more intimate, something far more memorable. As the sun rises higher, the rooftops begin to glow, church spires catch the light, the silhouette of Prague Castle appears above the city, and suddenly, the skyline that appears on postcards around the world comes to life. Yet even then, the real discoveries are still ahead, because Prague's greatest secrets are rarely found in plain sight. One of those secrets lies beneath the streets themselves. At first glance, Prague appears remarkably preserved. Its buildings seem untouched by time, its streets feel ancient, its architecture appears to belong entirely to another era. But beneath the city exists an older Prague, a hidden Prague, a Prague buried by centuries of history. Long ago, flooding from the Vltava River repeatedly threatened parts of the city. Over time, residents responded in an unusual way. Rather than rebuilding entirely, they gradually raised the streets, again and again, each generation building slightly higher than the one before. As centuries passed, ground floors became basements, doorways disappeared below street level, entire sections of the medieval city were buried beneath the Prague visitors walk through today. The result is a city built in layers, a place where history exists not only around you but beneath you. Many travellers spend their entire visit without realising another Prague survives underground. Hidden rooms, ancient walls, forgotten foundations, fragments of a city that once existed at street level. Standing in these underground spaces feels strangely disorienting. The ceilings seem lower, the stone feels older, the city above suddenly feels younger than you imagined. And perhaps that is one of Prague's most fascinating qualities. No matter how old it appears, there is always something older hidden underneath. Yet Prague's hidden world extends far beyond its underground spaces. In fact, some of its greatest discoveries require doing something surprisingly simple, leaving Old Town behind. For many visitors, Old Town becomes Prague, the astronomical clock, Old Town Square, the crowded streets connecting one attraction to the next. And while these places deserve their reputation, they represent only a small part of the city. Cross the river and everything begins to change. The pace slows, the noise fades, the crowds thin, and Prague starts revealing details most visitors never notice. The neighbourhood of Malá feels almost like a secret despite its central location. Its streets twist between historic buildings. Its staircases climb toward hidden viewpoints. Its courtyards hide behind ordinary-looking doorways. Walking here feels different. There is no urgency, no pressure to check another attraction off a list. Instead, there is space. Space to wander, space to notice, space to become curious. And curiosity is perhaps the most valuable thing a traveller can bring to Prague, because the city rewards it constantly. A narrow alley becomes an unexpected passageway. An unmarked doorway opens into a hidden courtyard. A quiet side street reveals one of the city's most beautiful views. The discoveries are rarely dramatic, but they are unforgettable, and that is what separates meaningful travel from ordinary tourism. Prague is not a city that demands to be conquered. It is a city that invites exploration. Nowhere is that more apparent than in its courtyards. Throughout Prague, hidden behind gates and archways, are dozens of spaces many visitors never enter. From the street, they are almost invisible, but step through a doorway and the atmosphere changes completely. The sounds of the city disappear. The crowds vanish. Suddenly you find yourself standing in a peaceful garden, a centuries-old courtyard, a quiet corner untouched by the energy just outside. These spaces reveal something important about Prague. The city was never designed for speed. It rewards patience. Its greatest treasures are often hidden from immediate view. You have to slow down. You have to look. And when you do, the city begins revealing itself in ways guidebooks rarely describe. Further south, another overlooked part of Prague waits above the river, a place many first-time visitors never reach. Vyšehrad. Perched high above the Vltava, this ancient fortress offers a completely different perspective on the city. Unlike Prague Castle, which draws enormous crowds throughout the year, Vyšehrad often feels calm, quiet, reflective. The views stretch across rooftops, bridges, and distant neighbourhoods. The atmosphere encourages something many travellers forget to do: pause. From here, Prague appears less like a tourist destination and more like a living city. Trams move through distant streets. Church bells echo across the skyline. The river winds through neighbourhoods filled with everyday life, and perhaps for the first time, the scale of Prague becomes clear. Not just its beauty, its complexity, its depth. The city extends far beyond its most famous landmarks, and understanding that changes everything. Because Prague is not simply a collection of attractions. It is a place where stories exist everywhere, sometimes hidden in the smallest details. Walk through Prague carefully and you begin noticing symbols above old buildings. Golden lions, 3 roses, keys, animals, mythical creatures. Long before street numbers became common, these signs identified homes and businesses. People lived at the House of the Golden Lion, the House of the White Swan, the House of the Golden Key. These symbols still survive today. Many visitors pass beneath them without ever looking up, yet they remain part of the city's identity. Small reminders that Prague rewards attention. The city is constantly telling stories, not through signs, not through museums, but through details. The worn stones beneath your feet, the marks left by centuries of flooding, the hidden passageways connecting buildings, the old house signs still watching over the streets. Every detail adds another layer to the city. Every detail transforms a simple walk into something richer. And eventually, if you spend enough time exploring, something unexpected happens. Prague stops feeling like a destination. It starts feeling like a place. You begin riding trams without a plan, sitting in neighbourhood cafes, walking riverside paths with no particular destination, watching daily life unfold around you. These moments rarely appear in travel advertisements, yet they often become the most meaningful. Because travel is not simply about seeing places, it is about understanding them. And understanding rarely comes from standing in line at an attraction. It comes from observation, presence, patience. Prague excels at rewarding all three. As the day slowly gives way to evening, the city transforms once again. The crowds begin to disperse. The streets grow quieter. Golden light settles across the rooftops. The river reflects the changing colours of the sky. One by one, the city's bridges illuminate. Church towers glow against the fading light. The skyline becomes a silhouette. This may be Prague at its most beautiful, not because it is dramatic, but because it feels timeless. The city seems suspended between past and present, between history and everyday life, between memory and reality. Walking along the river at dusk, it becomes clear why Prague leaves such a lasting impression on those who truly experience it. Not because of a single attraction, not because of a famous photograph, but because of the atmosphere created by thousands of details working together. The sound of a tram crossing a bridge, the reflection of lights on the water, the quiet conversation drifting from a nearby cafe, the feeling of discovering a hidden street moments before sunset. These are the experiences people remember. These are the moments that stay with them long after they leave. And perhaps that is the greatest secret of all. The Prague most tourists never see is not a hidden landmark. It is not a secret tunnel. It is not an attraction hidden from the guidebooks. It is a way of experiencing the city, a slower way, a more curious way, a way that values discovery over checklists, observation over consumption, presence over perfection. Because Prague reveals its true character gradually, one hidden courtyard at a time, one quiet street at a time, one unexpected view at a time. Millions of visitors come here every year. They photograph the castle, cross the bridge, watch the clock strike the hour, and then they leave believing they have seen Prague. But the city has always been far more than its landmarks. Its true character lives in the spaces between them, in the hidden corners, the overlooked neighborhoods, the stories carved into stone, the places waiting just beyond the crowd. And for those willing to slow down and explore, Prague offers something increasingly rare in modern travel: the feeling that there is still something left to discover. That beneath the postcards and famous views, another city still exists, quietly waiting, hidden in plain sight. I'm your narrator from the Untold Opus. Subscribe, because the world is bigger, stranger, and more fragile than most people realize.